I've been a Sony shooter now for 3.5, 4 years almost, and like I've been enjoying these cameras a whole lot, but the Canon R5, is that gonna be the camera that makes me jump ship from Sony? I just want to start off by saying that it doesn't really matter which camera brand that you have, as long as you have the tool that's going to be the best fit for you. So with that said, let's talk about the R5. So the first thing that actually blows my mind with the Canon R5 is that you have the ability to shoot 8K RAW internally in the camera, and like to be able to do that in a camera the size of this, that is insane. And not only that, you can also shoot in 4K 24, 30 FPS, 60 FPS, and 120 FPS to get that like buttery smooth B-roll footage. And this time around, they also removed the crop factor that you got when you were shooting in 4K with the Canon EOS R, which I think is going to be a total game changer for those of you that are upgrading from the R to the R5 and want to have that full frame look in your videos when you're shooting in 4K. And being able to have the 422 10-bit video recorded internally into the camera is also something that is way better than the current Sony cameras on the market. So Canon has really done a good job of like smashing everything into that camera and making it as good as they possibly could. You also have the 45 megapixel sensor, which is gonna be totally mind-blowing when it comes to shooting videos. It's gonna be basically the same kind of images that I get with my A7R III, and if you've never like taken photos with a sensor that is that big, you're definitely in for a treat, because the pictures, they look so good when you have like 45 megapixels, scaling it down to like Instagram size. You get so much more detail in the shot, and being able to have that in a camera that is aimed both towards photographers and videographers is just, that is so good. And talking about photos, you can also shoot in 12 FPS with continuous autofocus without having to worry that the autofocus is going to hunt or anything like that. It's just gonna be like... And if I remember correctly, that is actually 2 frames per second faster than Sony's like super fast A9 Mark II. And when you switch over to the electronic shutter, then you can get 20 FPS continuously in total silence, and that is the same as the A9 Mark II. And when it comes to the autofocus, it has an improved dual pixel autofocus that's gonna be like Mark II, and it includes basically everything that the Sony cameras has, such as the IAF, the Face AF, the animal tracking, and all the different tracking modes that you have available. I don't know, even like, I don't even use all of them in my Sony cameras, so there's probably gonna be way more than I know of. So when you pack all of those things into a camera the size of the EOS R5, there has to be something that is gonna give, right? Like I was thinking like it can't be possible that they actually make a camera that will make all of this work without removing anything from the camera's functions that you have. And very much so, there is a couple of issues that the camera has. One of them being the overheating issue. And apparently you can't shoot a long time with the camera in 8K mode before it overheats, and you have to turn it off and then leave it be, and then just like, oh, cool down now, and then we're gonna get back to shooting. And when you're shooting in 4K, you're gonna be maxing out at 30 minutes recording limits because of the overheating issue. And that is something that I today do with my Sony a7 III. I basically like turn it on and then shoot and then pause, restart, and I've never had an overheating issue with the a7 III, but it's super annoying when you're recording these kind of videos to have the time limit of recording, because usually you just want to shoot maybe like for 1 hour and then jump into the editing process, but then you have to like stop the camera, reset, and then go again. And when you're shooting interviews or concert or anything similar, you always have to have someone that is just gonna be there and like start the recording, start the recording, start the recording. But when it comes to the R5, that is not gonna be possible because the camera is overheating. So if the camera overheats, that means that you're not gonna be able to shoot the videos as you want. Like if you're shooting longer videos and making like interviews and concerts and stuff like that, where you want everything gathered into one video, you're gonna have to take some breaks and like, oh, just waiting for it to cool down, and then pick up again, and then wait for it to cool down, pick up again. That is gonna be like a tedious process that I've experienced myself when I was shooting with the a6300. And back then, like 4 years ago, that was one of the main issues that the Sony camera has, because almost all of the cameras were overheating when you were shooting in 4K. Like you could shoot for like 15 minutes tops, and then it would say like camera's overheated, let it cool down, and just wait, and then start up again, start shooting. And it was such an annoying thing to have in a camera when you're working as a content creator. So even though the camera doesn't have that many cons, the issue with overheating and the recording limit is, for me, something that makes me not wanting to have the camera. Because again, I'm already shooting with the camera today that has a recording limit of 30 minutes. And I think that is super annoying. So I wouldn't want to upgrade to a camera that has the same recording limit. And since I'm already heavily invested into the Sony like lens mount with my lenses and with my cameras, it's gonna be a really expensive trade-up that I need to do if I want to move over to Canon. But it does seem like a really good camera, and I do think it's gonna be finding its place in the camera sky as a really good like camera for Canon shooters. But if I were you and I were a Sony shooter, I'd hold on just for a little bit.